Fun story. I just did a whole video lesson. It was like 25 minutes long, and never turned the microphone on, so it was completely mute. But the lesson was really good. You would have really liked it. Anyway, so we're gonna redo the lessons that way you get everything you need. Some admin stuff first. Luna's doing great, healthy, happy. She's wonderful. Potty training, no issues. She's not having any accidents or anything like that, which is great. The only weird thing is she rarely goes to the bathroom. She goes pee and poop each once a day, which is weird. So I think maybe yesterday she peed twice. It's a little bit odd. It makes me a little bit concerned that it might be, I don't know, because she seems healthy and she doesn't have any issues with eating or drinking, so it's hard to say if there's anything medical going on or any reason why she's doing that. I figure the first few days it's just stress, but I'm going to continue to pay attention to her pottying schedule and see if it gets a little bit more frequent. I would like it to be more frequent. It would make me more comfortable, but she's been doing really good in her crate. And so, a little barking, but nothing crazy. So what I actually did was I took her water bowl, and now that's inside the crate with her, so she can hopefully drink more water and therefore hopefully go potty more frequently. But other than that, the potty training is wonderful, which is great. I would just like it if she would go potty more often. The grooming, everything's fine. I didn't get a chance to do her nails yet. I'm going to try to get those done today, and continue to clean up her haircut a little bit more. I really am enjoying the grooming aspect of things, so if you want me to groom her after the board and train's over, I'd be happy to if you need it. Her tail is still kind of a little bit knotted up. I would love to try to brush it out. Tail tends to be a little bit of a sensitive area, so she might not tolerate pulling at those knots too much, trying to comb them out. So if I can't brush them out easily, I'm going to try giving her a bath and see if I can use some detangling conditioner to get those knots out. If push comes to shove, I can cut out any of the really stubborn knots. But I really do like it when we have a nice fluffy tail, so ideally I don't want to cut that hair off because it's super cute. But yeah. Okay, so in the last video I sent you, we went over place. So we started going over place, but it was to talk about how we use our words. We talked about our markers, our positive marker, which we're going to be using our clicker. We talked about our release marker, which is the word free, and talked about how we use our communication in certain aspects. Place, it's very easy for you as a handler to understand how we use those words. We used the clicker when she had all 4 paws in the place bed, very black and white, very clear. So now that we have a bit of an understanding about how we use the markers, I'm going to demonstrate how we use our clicker marker, our positive marker, to start to teach heel. So we've been working on heel since she got here, and so I want to kind of show you the process. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning of how we teach heel, and kind of walk you through the steps to at least get us to where we are now with it, and kind of talk a little bit about how the progression goes forward, just so that you understand. And again, if in the future her heel gets sloppy because we kind of fall off of training in the future, a couple months down the road or next year or something like that, you can always go back and reference this and understand, okay, I just need to go back a few steps in the process to clean it back up again. So when I teach heel, the first thing I want to teach is what's called the attention game. And so, especially when it was her first day here, this is essentially all we did was the attention game. So what the attention game is, I just want to click and reward when I get her attention. So you can see here, she's looking at the ground, she's looking at the car, she's looking around, she's trying to see if she can get away with eating treats off the floor. And that's going to be a no-go. We're not going to let her eat treats off the floor. What I want to do is I want to get her to look at me, and when she looks at me, I'm just going to click and reward. Really, really simple stuff. This is what I do with every dog the day they get here. Look at that. She looked at me, I click, I provide reward. Super simple concept. We're going to do it a few more times. She looked at me. I click. I reward. Now, ideally, at this stage, I want her looking at my face. I don't want her looking at my hand. Granted, when she gets excited that my hand's going in the treat pouch, you can see here she's looking at my hand, right? She's like, oh, I'm going to get treats. She doesn't care about what my face is doing. She's caring about what this is doing because this is where the treats come from. But ideally, I want her looking at my face. And I can just make some kissy noises and, goo goo gagas, whatever I got to do. I call it bubbling. Bubbling is just when I go, when she gets distracted, I'm just going to bubble. Look at that. She looked at me. I mark. I reward. Okay? Good girl. She looked at me. I mark. I reward. Puppy. Look at this. Good. Hey, bam. Okay. Now, if you notice there, she looked at me, I clicked, and then she walked away, and she didn't get a reward before she walked away. So I just encouraged her back to me. I used a little bit of the leash to get her to come back, at least to take the reward. I did not click again. Every click gets a reward, okay? Even if it takes a second, right? I'm not going to sit here clicking over and over again, without giving her reward for each one, because I want her to know every click gets a treat. Good. Okay? So, what we're doing is we're teaching our dog that when you look at me, good things happen, right? She looked at me, mark and reward. Now, when we're doing this attention game, I am not using any commands. I'm not using her name. I'm not telling her to look at me. I'm not telling her to heel, sit, come here, do this, do that, right? Because if she's really distracted, like you saw there with the truck that drove by, and I'm saying, do this behavior, and she's too distracted to do it, that's now a bad rep, right? Meaning that is a failed repetition. I asked her to do something, she didn't do it, not good dog training, right? So I want to make sure she's doing the behavior before I start to tell her to do the behavior, right? So the way I do that is I just make a bunch of goofy sounds. I'm not telling her to do anything. I'm just really interesting and encouraging her to look at me. Good. Okay. So the next step in the process, after she starts wanting to look at me, is now look at me and move towards me, okay? So now I'm going to wait until she starts to move towards me. So she's going to look at me and then start to move towards me, and that's when I'm going to mark. Boom, just like that. Hand her a treat. And we're going to do it again. Good. Okay. Again, I'm just looking for her to look at me and then move towards me. All right. So if you notice, it looks a lot like a recall, right? Where she comes towards me. That's what recall is, right? Come to me. Good. Good job. All right. Now, in this process, we're building up towards what I would call heel. What heel is, and before we get to that process, we need to be able to define for us what is heel. So when I want to teach my dog something, I need to make sure I have a very clear definition of what I want the behavior to be. Because if I don't know exactly what I want for the behavior, it becomes much more challenging to be able to convey that information to the dog. So to make heel very clear and very simple, it's just going to mean to stay on my left-hand side, right here next to me. If I want to get really specific, I want her shoulder, her head right here next to my hip, okay, or next to my thigh, this area here, okay? So ideally, I want her there and facing the same direction as me. Now, the reason why I call place a very black and white behavior is you're either on the bed with all 4 feet or you're not, right? It's very black and white. The problem with heel is that if my dog is here right next to me, this is correct, right? If my dog is here, I would say this is still pretty correct. If my dog is here, this is still pretty correct also. But how about if my dog is way up here, this is definitely wrong, right? This is no good. This is not the heel. But somewhere in here is the difference between being correct and being wrong. But where exactly is that line, right? And that's what I mean when I say this is a gray behavior. This is correct, this is correct, this is correct. Maybe this is where I start to get wrong, right? For me, I would say that this is wrong. But it's a gray behavior. So that's why this is a very challenging skill for most people to teach their dog. It's because it's not clear, black and white, as to what the correct behavior is. So what I like to do is I like to have a very clear picture in my head of where I want her to be. And my job as her handler, as her trainer, is to use my clicker to exactly capture the moments that she is right there. Because at the early stages, she's going to be a little bit loosey-goosey with where she's supposed to be. But as she's coming in, maybe she's coming from behind and moving through this position, and then maybe getting ahead of me, I can capture this moment with my marker, right? And we're going to use it like taking a photograph for her. And as long as we are very consistent with when we are marking with our clicker, she's going to figure it out very quickly that every single time I'm in this exact spot, good things happen, okay? So the reason why I was going to do a voiceover of the previous video. The reason why I couldn't do that is because it's very important for you to hear when the clicker is happening in reference to her behaviors. So we're going to do a few repetitions of me getting her into that heel position on my side. And it starts with that attention game we were just doing where I get her attention. And she's going to come over and I'm going to use that attention and her motion towards me to encourage her into that position. And like I said, we've been doing this for a few days. So she's going to do it pretty well, pretty easily. Puppy, so I want to make sure she's exactly where I want her. That's what I like right there. Puppy. Puppy. Yeah. Good. And if you notice, I'm not telling her to do anything. Every time she's just here on my side, I'm just going to mark and reward. Now, if you notice, I do have food in my hand while I'm doing this. So this is called what we call a lure. A lure is just a piece of food that she can follow, right? So I can lure her and, guide her in different places. So if I want her moving this way, this is called luring. So when I have the food here, I'm luring her into this position. Okay. Puppy. Good. Yeah. We want to be careful not to get stuck going in like these clockwise or counterclockwise circles indefinitely. So we got to change up what direction we're moving, right? The reason is if we are always just kind of doing this clockwise circle, she is on the outside of the circle and I'm on the inside of the circle, and she's going to get this habitual wanting to kind of go out in front of us, because essentially that's how she's moving, right? She's coming forward and she's turning to the right. She's coming forward and turning to the right. And so if we only ever moved this way, then when we try to walk in a straight line, she's going to want to come forward and to the right in front of us. So we do got to make sure we spend some time doing some counterclockwise circles, just like this. Good. You can see now, right, it's a little bit harder for her to be in that position going counterclockwise, which is fine, right? We want to help her learn how to do difficult things. The more we practice difficult things, the easier they become. Good. Now, the reason why it's important that you look back at that first video is all of the skills that we talked about still continue throughout all of our training. Meaning if I mark, I have to click before I move, right? So if I have my food here, I click, then I move. Click, then I move. Okay. Gotta be really careful that we're not moving and clicking at the same time. Good. I love your enthusiasm. She's so cute. So cute, baby. Okay, so we're gonna do some straight lines. I'm gonna go out and back. Good. When I do my about turns, I want to do them very sharp. So I'm going to turn to my right. Good. All right. If I'm going to practice about turns, I don't want to do these big U-turn circles, right? What I want to do is I want to do a very sharp 180-degree turn. So imagine I'm walking on a tightrope and I turn around on that tightrope. Okay? Good. What that does is it really requires our dog to be paying attention, right? So I just suddenly turn around. Good. And again, we're not reinforcing that circular walking that we're doing. Good. Now, when she first started training with me, she was very kind of hesitant to eat the food from my hands. Like, she would take it, but she was like very, very not into it, right? And so I ended up finding that she would stop every time I tried to feed her. And if you're not careful, she will start doing that again, right? So I put my hand out. I make her come to my hand. Okay? Good. If for some reason she decides to stop when you mark, do not reach back to her to try to feed her, okay? Good. Free. All right, so again, we're using that free marker. That's going to be our release marker, telling her she no longer has to stay in that position. Granted, I hadn't told her to do the behavior anyways, so if she had broken that position, it's fine, right? So looking back at the old video, the previous video, if I want to start to name the behavior, I need to make sure that that behavior is predictable, a behavior that she enjoys doing, something that she's doing with a good attitude, with enthusiasm. And I think we're starting to get there, right? We're starting to get to the point where she knows that walking next to me is really rewarding. So this is a good opportunity for us to start to name this behavior. So the name of this behavior is going to be called heel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say the name of the behavior right before I click while she's actually doing it. So when she's already in that heel position, I'm going to say the name of the behavior and I'm going to mark and then I'm going to reward. And I'm going to do that a whole bunch of times, okay? So I'm going to have a whole bunch of food in my hand so I can reward her multiple times in a row. Free. We're going to walk, 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 right? When she's right there next to me, heel. 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 Free. Okay? So, we're going to do this 1,000 times. Like every phase of this process, we're doing it hundreds and hundreds of times, okay? What's happening is a couple things. One, she is successfully healing between when I say the word heel and when I click. All we're looking for are these very tiny moments and durations of success. We're going to, over time, increase that duration, but I want it to be a very gradual process because I want her to have as close to 100% success rates as possible. Again, going back to why we don't start telling our dog to do stuff without them knowing what we're asking already. The other thing that's happening is when I use this process, right, where I say heel, I immediately click and I immediately reward right here, is when I say the word heel, she's starting to get the routine that this word means that reward is coming here. right? So every time I say it, she gets rewarded very quickly right here. I say the word heel, she gets rewarded here, etc., etc. So if we think about our dog's behaviors and the commands that we want to use, we want to start to think about teaching our dog that this word, heel, means that the reward will be in this location. If I say place, it means that the reward will be on the place bed. If I say kennel or crate, it means that the reward will be in the crate, right? Or in the kennel. So if we think about it that way, it's a lot easier to think, okay, well, how do I teach my dog that? Well, easy. I tell my dog the word and I give him the reward in that place. If I tell my dog heel and I give him a reward here, eventually my dog's going to figure out, hey, when I hear that word, the treat's going to be here. And they're just going to come to this position. Now, what this is going to do is going to set us up for success moving forward, right? So eventually I'm going to say heel. She's going to come jumping into this position and she's going to go, yay, my reward's going to be here. And she's going to expect it, right? And as we move forward and we want to get more duration out of it, we're just going to wait a second, right? So I say the word, she comes to this position, she's expecting the reward, but it doesn't come right away. And she goes, where is it? And then after a couple seconds, boom, now she gets the reward. She goes, oh, it's fine. You know, Miss Ashley just took a little bit longer. Not a big deal, right? And then we do it again, and maybe I take a little bit longer, right? And then we do it again, I take a little bit longer. Until eventually, I ask my dog to heel. They come into the position excited, expecting a reward, and then we go for a nice long walk, right? We go walk around the neighborhood, whatever, and she goes, I know that at some point I'm getting my reward right here, right? Now, long term, if we always go for our walks and she never gets rewarded ever again after she goes home, she's going to stop expecting it, and then she's going to stop hanging out on our side. So I do recommend that when she does go home that we continue this process, okay? So the way we get from here to there is just very slowly, very gradual process. So I'm going to continue doing a few more reps of telling her heel and rewarding her in this position. And then I'm going to start to add a little bit of duration and show you how we start to do that, okay? Good job. You free? Excuse me. Heel. Good. You can actually see when I said that word, she got a little excited. Heel. Good. Heel. Not that way. Heel. Good. Heel. Good. Just a little bit of duration there, right? Heel. Good girl. Heel. 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 Good girl. Heel. Okay. Heel. Good. Heel. Good. And like we were talking about with don't move before you click. So that can mean a couple of things, right? So right now I have a few pieces of food in my hand, so I can go heel, click, feed, heel, click, feed. I can even have no food in my hand and go heel, click, and that sends my hand to my treat pouch in order to feed, right? Heel, click, feed. And again, we're gonna go heel, click, sends my hand to the treat pouch to give her food. Okay? Free. Good job. So, yeah, she's doing really good. So that's about it for this lesson. She's probably getting tired. Time to put her up. If you have any questions, feel free to call me, text me, whatever. Yeah, and I'll keep you posted. She's doing a good job.